In the last couple videos, I built a sled for cutting miters and another one for cutting splines. If you haven't watched those, I'll leave some links in the description. This time I'm going to wrap that theme up by building a canister set with, well, you guessed it, miter and spline corners. What else? I'm going for a little contrast here, so I'll make the body of the boxes from cherry, then the tops, bottoms, and corner splines will be all black walnut. As I'm making this video, we're getting deeper into the holiday season, and this will probably be the last one I release until the new year, so I thought I'd take a few minutes and reflect back on what I'll call Season 1. First, let's get caught up on where we are on this project. The boxes are going to get a 4-sided grain wrap, so as you rotate the box around, it'll appear like you're looking at one single board with the grain wrapped all the way around the outside. The inside of the board will actually be the outside of the box, so here I had to mark everything to keep the parts in order and the proper orientation. Once everything's marked out so I can keep it in order, I'll take it over to the bandsaw, split it in half, then we'll run it through the drum sander and get it down to its final thickness. I decided to try something different this time since it's just a couple of small boxes. I've been threatening to try this new measuring system that some of you may have heard of. It's all based on multiples of tens, and it seems pretty easy to learn, so I thought I'd give it a shot. You may have heard of it. It's called metric or something like that. Anyway, let's see how this goes. I installed a fine-tooth blade on the table saw, pulled out the miter sled, and cut all the parts to length square. After that, I added a sacrificial fence, tilted the blade to 45 degrees, and cut the miters on both ends. Now back to that earlier thought. I started this channel a little over a year ago, and this will be the 17th full-length video I've released. After a couple of false starts, I finally got serious about it in July of this year, and in the 4 months since, much to my surprise, it's grown from about 50 subscribers to well over 1,600 today. The channel has received over 75,000 views at last check, and I still can't even believe that this many people want to watch me cut wood and glue it back together. I'm extremely humbled and grateful for everyone who's watched, liked, and commented on the videos and posts, except for that one person that keeps hitting the thumbs down button. I don't know what their problem is. Maybe he's trying to keep me grounded or something? I don't know. I'm going to use these square tins I picked up from Amazon as liners for the canisters, so I have to lay out the rabbets for the bottom panel and the final height that I need for the inside. With that figured out, I can cut the bodies down to height and then get the final height for the lids from what's left of that. All right, now I can just clean these up a little bit, and we can actually glue these together. But for now, you can see I took 3 passes off of that one and 2 passes off of our top, and what that's going to do is keep the top from sitting tight down onto the base, and I think it's just going to give us a cool little shadow effect. We know our grain isn't going to line up anymore because we've actually cut more or less 3/8, almost of a ½ inch out of that, and so we know the grain's not going to line up perfectly, so I think that little shadow line is going to work out good. Get these all cleaned up and glue our top and bottom together. All right, so these are set overnight and everything's looking pretty good there. So next thing we need to do, I need to get some wood cut for the bases and the tops, and then we're gonna cut some splines into the corners. I want to add the splines just for strength, but it's also just gonna be a cool little design feature. I'm gonna leave the tape on there until that's done. Gonna make it a little bit easier to get those in, get a lot of glue on them, and not worry about the squeeze out getting all over the outside of the box. So next thing we need to do is cut some walnut out for the splines and for the tops and bottoms, and we'll get that milled down to the right size. Get it glued in. I'm still trying to find my own style for these videos, and I'm honestly still struggling a lot with talking on camera. It's just not natural to stand alone in a room and talk to the camera like someone's there. I really struggle with trying to show the real me and not play a character, but I think I end up being a little too straight and boring sometimes as a result. I also don't want to be that typical YouTuber that seems to be overly excited about every little thing, so bear with me and hopefully I'll find a happy medium on that and figure it all out over time. Or I'll continue being boring. Apparently, some people like that too. I cut these parts a hair oversized, then worked them down with a block plane and some sandpaper until I had a good tight fit, and then I glued them into place. I've always considered myself more of a machine woodworker. Honestly, it probably comes from the younger me's complete lack of patience and the idea that the job needs to be done as quickly and efficiently as possible. Woodworking actually has taught me to be a lot more patient over the years. I remember my first big multi-panel glue up for the side of a tall cabinet. I couldn't get all the parts to stay in place. I'd get one end in place and the other end would pop out or the middle would come loose. I finally got so mad I threw one of the rails across the shop in frustration and then quickly stepped back and thought, okay, dumbass, your glue's drying and that didn't fix anything, so now what are you going to do? Luckily, it didn't hurt the part any, and after a quick step back and a breath, I got all the parts together and in the clamps before it was too late, but I think that was kind of the beginning of my learning some patience. Anyhow, I guess I'm slowing down a bit as I get older, and I think I'd like to work some more hand tools into the mix in the future, so we'll see what I can come up with. I swapped to a full curve flat tooth blade to cut all the slots in the corners, and once that was done, I sanded the splines down to a good snug slip fit and glued them into place. After the glue dried overnight, I cut the splines down flush with a trim saw and a chisel and then sanded everything up to 220 to get ready for finish. So how did that metric experiment go anyway? Well, I'm not saying I'm throwing out my standard tape measure just yet, but there's definitely something there. The hardest part for me was just to start thinking solely in metric and stop constantly thinking, what is that in inches? I think with a little practice I could be converted though. We'll see. Once I cleaned up all the dust from sanding, I wiped on 2 coats of pure tung oil and finished it all off with a coat of hard wax, buffed it out with a microfiber cloth. Before I finish this one up, I just want to express my gratitude to all of you who have watched, liked, commented, and subscribed this year. Without the great support I've received from you, I honestly would have probably given up after a couple videos, so thank you all so much for your support. I have some ideas for some bigger and better projects in the new year, and of course, let me know what you'd like to see in the comments. I'm always open to suggestions. I hope you all get to enjoy your December holidays, whatever that looks like for you, and hopefully you'll get to spend some time in the shop too. Now you can finally see how the grain wrap works as it wraps all the way around the box, and speaking of wraps, that's going to wrap up this video and this season. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.